I have to make sure that we're really actually recording because we never know when we're actually recording. Even though Stead tells me that we're recording, there are occasions that we cannot be recording. And of course, then I've got Sean the Sherpa
Yeah.
coming at me live from England. All right, well, our faces and the lack of theme music can only mean one thing. It is time once again for the Too Many Guys soccer show, the worst 120 minutes in sports podcasting. I'm Mike. I'm joined, as always, by my friend who looks resplendent in his Prince Purple tonight. Were you watching a little Purple Rain?
No, but I did watch Mountains. That's only time you can see a man wear a crop top and a pair of flare pants and heels and still be afraid that he might take your woman.
We all know where you got that shirt. It weren't the men's department.
That's right.
Stead, how you doing this evening?
I'm doing great. It's glad to be back this week. I had to miss last week, but happy to be back conducting the train again. I almost was like, I can hang, even though my body's like, will you shut up and go to sleep? So,
well, I mean, it's good because, we survived the world's longest snowstorm. What did it snow in this area for like 374 straight hours?
Yeah, and it's about to do it again next week or later this week. So, yeah. Of course, it's only going to accumulate for 4 inches though. It'll snow for a week and you'll get 4 inches. So
that was what the best part. It snowed for like 3 days straight, and we got 4 inches of snow.
Yeah, and the fact that the temperature stayed above freezing the whole time, that the snow doesn't stick around, it just melts.
Well, I am happy that it melted. I was able to get out this weekend and go up to Baltimore and watch a little bit of United with the supporters club up there. So it was fun to be able to watch a proper match in a pub with other supporters, which is something I haven't done in almost a calendar year. There are nasty rumors that we may be able to dine inside for the first time since the last ice age, coming up starting September or Valentine's Day. So things are looking up. We know that can't last. Somebody's got to put a spanner in it. And our friend from across the pond, fresh off of a long and somewhat profitable marathon weekend of watching. Yes. It's odd that even though you're 5 hours ahead, your timing ran sort of similar to mine. That just means I missed the first 5 hours of that test.
Yes. And I missed the last 3 hours of the Super Bowl.
Okay. Well, you didn't miss much if you missed the last 3 hours of the Super Bowl, because it was already within the first quarter. It was already Bucks 9,000 and refs 2.
Yeah.
It was all looking so good, Stead. Patrick Mahomes, future Hall of Famer, Patrick Mahomes, let him down. First drive. They score an early field goal, and we're thinking, hey, this could be a game. And then old man River himself, Methuselah, Tom Brady, comes back, has one of those patented Tom Brady games. Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs couldn't get out of their way. That man running around that field looked like the Road Runner.
I believe he covered 497 yards of scrambling.
Yes.
Yeah.
But only accounted for less than 50 yards of actual rushing.
Mm-hmm.
It was kind of bananas.
He's running backwards.
I mean, at one point in time, they had first and goal on the 10, and he tried to launch a pass from the 50. Like, Patrick, you're going the wrong way. You don't do that. He had some passes, though. That one, I think it was late in the fourth quarter, where he threw it, and he was pretty much laying on his side.
Yeah.
In the air, and still delivered.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. After the Tampa Bay scored the first touchdown, I went upstairs. I stopped watching. I actually haven't watched a full Super Bowl in about 20 years. So, I mean, it's funny.
That also coincides with the last time the Redskins were actually decent.
No, they weren't decent 20 years ago. What are you talking about? Maybe 30 years ago, but
Yeah,
not
that's
20
when I
years ago.
started following them. 30
They
years.
weren't any good 20 years ago. No, I have not.
Well-
You got to remember, the last time the Redskins were good, I wasn't living in the United States. So I have not actually watched that team play effective football since I left the United States back in 1988. So on the previous show, the previous iteration of this very program, the guys like to jab me a lot about the state of my team. And even though I'd wear a shirt, I can honestly say, I was like, yeah, I don't know. I didn't watch the game. Especially when the last time I went to a game, I stood in the concourse and I believe I watched Chelsea versus Queens Park Rangers. And I believe that's the last time I went to a live professional football game. I stood in the concourse and watched Chelsea QPR with about 10 other guys.
The last time you went to a live professional sporting event was
I
a
said
couple of
football
years
game.
ago.
No, football game.
Okay, Chelsea QPR isn't a football.
American football.
Okay.
I stood in the concourse because there was a TV, and I said, I'm not going to watch the Redskins game.
Now I understand.
Yes, because I was at the Redskins game, or excuse me, well, they were the Redskins at the time. And I was decided to stand in the concourse and watch Chelsea QPR instead of actually going and sitting in my seat and watching the game because
look, I'm not.
There was no reason to watch that product.
There were a few times during the Army-Navy game when Manchester United was playing or Villanova was playing, and I would leave my seat in the box to go back to the bank of televisions to watch that because it was a lot better than watching Army lose.
Yeah, watching two teams run the option the whole game too.
Hey,
So
we won one.
I started supporting the Redskins when they started showing American football on British television on Channel 4.
Oh, nice.
And I'm trying to remember, I think I started supporting the Redskins because I like the name and I quite like the kit. And I'm trying to remember, Stead, the name of the quarterback back in the late 80s. Was it John someone? John?
There was Doug Williams. There was
Doug Williams and Joe Theismann.
Joe Theismann actually retired in the mid-80s after Lawrence Taylor broke his leg. That was his last game.
Hear every time Joe Theismann talks, I want to say, where's Lawrence Taylor when you need him?
I actually met him at an airport in Phoenix at about 5 o'clock in the morning. Could not have been a nicer guy. I mean, everybody was exhausted. No, this was like 2 years ago.
2 years ago.
Yeah, and I think the most shocking thing was seeing how much bigger football players are than they were in the 80s. I'm bigger than he was, and I'm not a big guy. I was like, wow, I'm looking right over the top of your head there, Joe Theismann. But nicest guy. Could not have been a nicer guy. I mean, was very generous, and everybody was dead tired. I just kind of recognized him. I was just like, hello, Mr. Theismann. And he was like, oh, hi, how are you? Nice to meet you. Very, very nice guy. So
I ran into Eddie George once at an Army-Navy game. And like you said, nicest guy on the face of the planet. Still a big dude. But the thing I will remember most, because I have a picture of this, is he had the most spectacular pair of purple corduroy pants on. And you must be in like corduroy pants and an infinity scarf. And I'm like, to pull off that outfit, you must be a former Heisman Trophy winner and a former All-Pro, because you can't pull that look off if you're just a mere mortal. I can't go out like that and have anybody take me seriously, because there would inevitably be a lot of Joker references. But when it comes to Eddie George, if Eddie George wants to wear a pair of purple pants, by all means, kind sir, go ahead and do what you want to. So yeah, it was a great weekend for sports. You had and unfortunately at some point we actually will talk soccer. Leo's here and waiting in the wings, and we'll get to talking about Zidane's meltdown in a little bit. But you had England and India, Sean. I know you were out watching that. West
Indies also had England and Scotland in Six Nations.
I was getting there.
I'm itching. I'm like,
West Indies and Bangladesh, a guy by the name of Kevin Mayers in his first inning goes to 210 not out for the largest comeback in Asia.
Wow.
Miraculous final day, Sean. You should catch the highlights of his.
I will. I'm going to. Yeah.
And of course, the Six Nations kicked off. And all of our Six Nations bets are out the window because Scotland went to Twickenham, and instead a bunch of Scots went to Twickenham, and instead I'll let you finish the story from there.
Yes, and they won at Twickenham for the first time since, I believe, 1983, 38 years since they've won at Twickenham. The Scotland defense gave England absolutely nothing. It was surprising. England had real trouble moving the ball anywhere effectively, and after Scotland was able to get a try and a couple of penalty kicks, I believe, that was basically the end of the game because they were never in a position to even have a drop kick. So, and then, of course, we could talk about, I don't know why Italy's still involved. They got completely boat raced 50-10 by France. So, needless to say, this is looking at, because you can kind of be like, well, we can kind of get rid of them. So we're seeing at, Scotland and Ireland's going to be a good game. But they got beat by Wales, so which was a bit of an upset. So yeah, this is exciting. This is going to be fun to watch.
Ireland picked up a really early red card, and they basically, I would say, at least 50, maybe even 60 minutes of that game. They're looking really good.
And they hung. They looked like they were going to be able to pull it out. It really did. They were winning. Yeah, I thought they were going to be able to.
They were winning, and they were looking like much the better team. I have to believe that Wales' halftime team talk was, dude,
yeah,
they're playing with 14 guys.
Right.
My math says 15 is more than 14. Ergo, let's take advantage. And they did. They got a couple of tries. So this sets up a huge one next weekend, which could potentially. Now, Wales and Scotland both have a habit of losing. But, for Wales at least, this could be huge. They won the Six Nations not too long ago. With a win over Scotland, a win over Ireland, they pretty much, you would say, control their own destiny. France is going to be another tough out. And so, but you can count on England, Ireland, France to beat each other up. So, England may be looking at probably another loss, Ireland probably too. Wales with a win over Scotland, I would say, would be sitting pretty in the driver's seat of the Six Nations.
And we have 6 weeks to talk about it, which is very exciting.
Final 6 weeks.
It's March 20th, so we got plenty of time to chit chat about Six Nations. And that way I can be included in the non-soccer conversation, because when you guys talk cricket, I just like
there are only another 32 tests and 107 ODIs coming up in this England's tour of India, which is apparently going to last from now until 2027.
Yeah, well, you thought NASCAR races take a long time. These cricket matches, man. Jeez.
That's why you tune in for a couple of hours, you get a feel for it, and then you let it go.
Well, this is the warm-up for me, because as soon as we come off, the cricket starts. So that'll lead me straight on to the
I know, I got a buddy who said whenever it was India, Pakistan at his house, the party started at about 11 o'clock at night and it would go on for the next 24 hours. So I was like, well, you have to invite me at some point. I'd love to be a part of this. So
was he Indian or Pakistani?
He was Indian. Yes, he was Indian.
Yes, because India has definitely had the upper hand in that matchup.
Yeah. Oh yeah. But
well, this is ostensibly a soccer show, and we're not going to act ignorant and like we don't have a Super Bowl to talk about. We're waiting for Carlos to join us later and give us the hometown gloat session as his Bucks and Old Man River Tom Brady won. We also got Andy the Hammer, who is probably one of the few of us that's actually a legitimate sports journalist and has opinion in the matter, so we'll pick his brain on it. But we want to turn now and bring in our good friend Leo, the Italian, who is joining us to talk about Real Madrid. And I don't know
fun going on there right now.
Yes, there is some fun. Leo's joining us from California. How's the weather out there, Leo?
Much better than the last time we spoke. Excuse me.
Hopefully you don't lose power this time, but
yeah. Well, I'm imagining that it's back to typical San Diego weather. 78 degrees.
No complaints here.
You can't complain a bit. So I'll say to you, and I'll say to the gentlemen, to the guys, I don't know if y'all saw this over the weekend, but Zidane got a little bit unusual. from my perception, a little unusually testy with the reporters in his pregame press conference, telling them, "If you want me out, just say so." So, I'm used to the press in Madrid being, relatively kind
Mhm.
to Madrid managers, and especially Zidane. Are there some cracks starting to show in that foundation, in that relationship there?
I think there are. I think that there's a lot of stuff surrounding him and his decisions. We, as a group, have spoken in the past about who gets playing time on this field, and it's mostly the big names that we remember when we played FIFA 12. These guys who have been around for a long time, starting over young talent that should be getting their chance. And I think that's a big um, criticism of Zidane's team this year. One of the things, though, that I was thinking about today, I wanted to bring up on this call is that for most of the people in Madrid, the season starts on February 24th.
And that would be the second derby.
No, the
Mm.
first leg
Champions
of
League, the Champions League. So,
Like, these people don't really even watch La Liga. They don't care about the King's Cup. Like, if you go to the city and you see the way that these people are when the Champions League rolls around, it's like that's the whole season is from February to May. So I think that while it's been a weird, rough season and Zidane could very likely get sacked at the end of the year, the real test hasn't actually started, because if they do incredibly well in the Champions League, no one's really going to care.
so what do you make of this Champions League? So, the La Liga is a little bit untenable. The performances have been up and down. There's a bit of an injury crisis going on right now. They have 11 fit out senior players to go against Getafe. Can you give us an update on what the situation is going to look like? I know Sean is invested in this because he wants any edge that he can get on his betting for this. So he'll be paying close attention to who may or may not be back in time for February 24th.
I do not have an excellent, clear update, but I will say that anyone who's on the fence, anyone who needs to take a couple games off, maybe they have a strain or a pull, will absolutely not be playing the next 2 weeks and waiting until that game to start. That's just how they do it. That's how Zidane does it too, because in his three-peat, man, they lost some really stupid league games. Lost to like Las Palmas, who plays in a high school stadium, and then they won the Champions League like outright. So expect anyone that's not seriously injured to be playing that game. The full lineup that he can have will be out there.
So we're talking about going past Getafe this weekend, which could be an interesting one. Valencia and Valladolid before they get to that first away leg in Italy on February 24th. Now, a lot of these games have been being restricted, relocated because of COVID restrictions. Any indication that that could be something that happens to Real Madrid with the travel in between Spain and Italy being affected? I know that with England it's been an issue, but I haven't seen any of the games outside of not involving English teams be involved. So are you hearing any rumblings, either you or Sean, that could be one that has to be relocated?
I haven't heard. Have you, Sean?
No, not about Madrid, but I know that the Man City game was relocated, as well as the Liverpool game. So I think Liverpool are playing in Hungary.
Mm-hmm.
Liverpool are playing in Hungary. Man City had been relocated, and they're talking about playing United's game against United's game in Turin.
Oh, are they? Okay. In the Europa League, that is, yeah.
Yeah, it seems like most of the team games, the European matches that are involving English teams are going to have to be relocated depending on who they're playing.
Yeah,
It
well,
doesn't seem like we're having much luck getting in Spain or France
no,
or Germany
or Portugal, because we've
or
got
Portugal.
Benfica. Yeah, so we must be somewhere else as well. Ah,
So
Well, that's
you
interesting. I think that it
mm,
might have an effect on some teams. What would have been a home game if now in Hungary, like that's not a home game at all.
well, my argument would be, and I put this question to you. We'll get onto it a little bit later with some of our other guests, but I think if you're going to relocate one leg to a neutral venue, I believe you probably should relocate both.
That sounds fair to me.
I don't see what the issue would be or why there would be an advantage, and I don't see how uh, you could say, okay, we're not allowing English teams to travel to Spain because of COVID restrictions, but we're going to allow a Spanish team to travel to England
Yeah,
and back. So I'm thinking, like, once you solve this venue issue, you might as well just play both legs at the same venue. That way it negates one team having this, I guess, unfair advantage. But in the case of most places that home field advantage isn't much of anything right now. What Real Madrid are still playing their stadium, their European games and cup finals in a high school stadium, so it's not like they're enjoying the benefits that would become of playing any sort of game with or without fans in the Bernabeu.
absolutely. But if you think about it in a 2-game series, that these goal differentials make such a difference. What you were saying about Spain to England, England to Spain, like that's a huge deal. A team doesn't have to leave home versus if you're going to play 2 games 2 weeks apart in a completely different country, that's a whole added amount of travel. They got to be coming back and forth for their league games as well. um, Really don't if you think about it, none of it seems too safe with the travel restrictions, but at least they can try to make it fair.
So I know that we'll have a chance to talk hopefully between now and then, but I do want to get your feelings on this upcoming Champions League matchup and give us an early preview of your thoughts on how you think Real may fare in the Champions League this go round. The league form hasn't been anything to write home about. The Champions League form hasn't exactly been great either. Um, but you said the season starts on the 24th. There was a great line from the Netflix show La Casa de Papel, the money heist. Nobody cares how the Spanish team starts the tournament as long as they come home with the trophy. Nobody cares how Madrid starts the tournament as long as they show up with that big-eared trophy at the end of it. What are the chances that they're going to get it?
Oof. Good question for a very strange and so far disappointing season. Here's the thing. On the 24th, I think that Real is going to beat Atalanta. I think they're going to put their entire lives into it. That being said, I love watching those like not top 3 Italian league teams in the Champions League. I love the way that they play defensively and hack and dive their way and frustrate to victory. I think it's hilarious, especially when they're playing against teams I don't like. Um, that being said, I think that Madrid is going to be able to get forward and move the ball and score the goals that they need to in a 2-game series. After that, we'll see where the draw goes. I am not
Yeah,
impressed with my team this year. I don't love watching them. And for me to claim that they're going to win the Champions League and Zidane's going to stay and all of that, that would be just ridiculously hopeful.
short of a miracle and even with a miracle where he does win the Champions League, what are the chances that you think that Zidane is still the manager first at the end of the season and starting next season? Do you think he makes it through this season to start?
I think he'll make it through this season and not be in charge next season. That's
and then
but
any thoughts on where they might go in their managerial search? Pochettino, that's going to be a tough one. I mean, with him at PSG, the compensation to get him out of that contract, and Madrid's already complaining, crying broke. I don't think they have it to get him out. See, that's the problem when you don't get your manager already on the run time. Although, Frank Lampard's available.
I was about to say.
You could get Eddie Howe on.
I bet
Eddie Howe's on.
You know who they'll get? They'll get Unai Emery just to stuff it in Arsenal's face. That's what they'll do. and Unai will win a Champions League.
Oh, wow! Would that not be a story if Unai goes?
If they go, you know what, Sean? I'm going to see if that's possible betting who the next manager is going to be, and I may put money on Unai Emery.
Well, he's not doing badly at Villarreal.
He's not doing bad.
No.
And he could win in Europe unless he's coaching Arsenal. Then he lays an egg in the final. But
he speaks the lingo.
Could you imagine if he goes to Real Madrid and wins a league title? How?
Dude, a Champions League would be even worse.
Of course, Sam Allardyce will be available at that point as well because he was left West Brom.
Well,
I can't imagine if that happens. I can't imagine if that happens. All I can say is tune into ArsenalFan.tv. If that happens.
Well, Leo, we want to thank you for coming on and joining us. It was great to have you, and we'll try and get you back in a couple of weeks to talk a little bit more about the Real Madrid and their fortunes in the Champions League. And certainly, if Zidane has another blow up, we'll always get you back to talk about Zizou and his temper. I mean, dude has a temper, but you don't always see it like that.
pretty cool.
Yeah. All right, man. Thanks a lot for joining us.
Thanks, Leo. Good to see you, man.
Yeah.
It was pretty interesting, his frustration with the media when he just basically was like, look, if you want me out, just say it.
Mm-hmm.
Come out and tell me that you want me gone.
So this is what? This was in the press conference prior to the
Prior
game?
to the last game. I don't know how y'all pulled Unai Emery as manager of Real Madrid. I mean, stranger things have happened. It's not like Rafa Benitez didn't take him over for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I'm just saying because of what he's doing at Villarreal, and if I didn't live in Maryland, it'd be easier. But I'd love to get in on some action with this. I could really see that happening. It does it, and the fact that when I said that, Sean, you gave me the eyebrows of relative agreement, which means it's definitely a possibility.
Here's what we do. We will all wire Sean.
Yeah.
So what we'll all do is we'll all wire Sean a couple $50-$100. He goes out, he lays the bet. Whatever we win, we just split, we just pool, right?
We got to time that. We got to time that right because English bookmakers won't take any bets on a team that already has a manager in place. So we got to put the bet on 30 seconds after Zidane gets fired.
Okay,
that's when to get on.
Okay,
so we'll just have this. The beauties of the internet is it's pretty much easy to wire money to anybody right now.
Hey man, you don't even need these. You just need a phone.
Yeah, you just need PayPal,
Pass that
Venmo,
Cash App,
Zelle, you name it.
You got them
Zelle. Yeah, we can get. The thing is, we can get the money there. We just need to make sure, and we all trust you. I don't know why I would trust an Arsenal fan from London, but we trust you.
I
don't wear my sponsorship hat for nothing. You know what I mean?
Okay.
If it's down to two people, do you want to ask me who I think is going to get hired? And then
No.
And then go the other way. Go the other way.
Oh, we'll go the other way.
Okay. Yeah, that's
No,
what
we've
I'm saying.
already
And that'll be the one time that Matt is right.
We've already decided that we're laying all of our money on Unai Emery to be the next manager of Real Madrid.
We can see it.
We figure we can get really, really long odds for really, really cheap. And there's something there's this weird karmatic thing going on.
I'll find out the odds for David Moyes as well, just to keep fans
Yeah,
happy.
it's true. He's had his forays into Spain. He can go back over there.
Moyes for Real Madrid manager. Yeah.
Why not go with
Especially
Gary
if West
Neville?
Ham
He's
finishes
already-
fifth, you know.
Yeah, why not Gary Neville? He had a great time when he was in Spain, didn't he?
Oh.
He did.
For like 2 games. Well, we want to welcome on Coach Matt and Andy the Hammer. Andy is mostly here to give us a scouting report on West Ham so that we know what to expect tomorrow, Matt. And because he is the only legitimate sports journalist that we have in this crew, we figure we need to cover the big sports story yesterday and get his reflections on the Super Bowl, because he actually like really does this professionally. And we need to raise the journalistic bar on this show. Not too much, but at least get it up off the ground.
Hey, since Andy's come on, we've had 3 additional downloads to the show.
Whoa.
Oh, that was
That's
actually
right.
my fault. I
You hit the
refreshed a
button.
couple of times.
I thought
That
that
was
was
my
his
fault.
mum and his dad and you.
My dad listened to the show one time.
I
He
could,
said,
I could actually just go
you
bang
suck.
on
I'm
Andy's
not
door and
doing
tell
this
his mom
again.
and dad to download it. So
You could.
the same thing with your
absolutely.
parents, Matt.
Chip.
Go hit Mary
Yeah,
and Pete too.
Yeah. Go ahead,
So,
man.
Andy,
They'll listen to
good-
you. They don't listen.
I want to get your thoughts first on the weekend, on the week that was, how it feels to be the latest team in the Premier League to be Mike Deaned.
Yeah, that was terrible at the time. When it went to VAR, I thought it was kind of a joke. I was like, what is he possibly looking at here? It was obviously, number one, like, what was that, Mitrovic, or who was the guy?
Yes, Mitrovic.
Yeah,
Yep.
thank you. I mean, he made a meal of it at first, but even he kind of stood up and acted as if it, wasn't much. Like when he finally got on his feet, he was like, yeah, it was not, he did not elbow me in the face with any might. It was ridiculous that Thomas Suchek got a red card, but all is well that ends well. It got overturned, so Suchek is still available to score the 95th minute winner against Man U tomorrow, so it'll be all good.
Despite the red card, though, it's a pretty good run that y'all have been on. The good fortune continues. David Moyes keeps them up in the top half of the table. Looking back, the only loss that you've had since the beginning of the year, I believe, was to Liverpool. Correct?
Correct. Yep. It's been about as good as you can be as a West Ham fan. It doesn't get better than this. So you take it. I thought there were a lot of worrying signs though in the Fulham 0-0. Antonio did his hamstring again. He's a game time decision, I think, for the FA Cup. I would doubt he starts, honestly. And if Antonio is not fit and he hasn't looked great even in the last 2 weeks or so, maybe just it might be a little harsh. Maybe last week he hasn't looked phenomenal. If he's not on his form, I mean, we literally do not have another striker on our team besides U23 players. So it could kind of go downhill. But yeah.
But you have Jesse Lingard.
We do, and I think he solves every issue. I think we're going to win the league with Jay Lingard. Be phenomenal. But actually, in actuality, I was very pleased with his debut. Obviously, he scored twice, but even when he wasn't scoring against Fulham, just the energy was there, and I liked that. And I think that's what you're going to need. And to be on a regular in this side, you're going to kind of need to show that you can put in the hard yards, and he did 2 games in a row.
All right. So tomorrow. You got West Ham in the FA Cup. Now, how seriously do you think Moyes is going to take this game? Traveling to Old Trafford.
I'd like to think very seriously, because we are in zero fear of relegation this year, and pretty much every other year that West Ham has been in the FA Cup, the manager has been in a relegation fight and says, nope, we're going to focus on the league and we're going to kind of rest a lot of players. So I'd like to see him go for it. I mean, what's the worst case? You know, you have to rest some guys against, I think Sheffield is the next one. So like, come on, you should be able to beat Sheffield in the league, even with, you know, some bench pieces. So I'd like to go for it. But we don't have that much depth, I suppose, especially up top. You know, the defense is fine. The midfield, you know, we have pieces, but if Antonio is not fit, it'll be interesting to see exactly the way that David Moyes goes to kind of fill that hole. But either way, I think I'd like to see him go for it, and I think he will, because this is a chance. You're in 5th in the league, and I don't think it's realistic to really say like, yeah, we're going to put all the marbles in to get Champions League. It's just it's not totally realistic for our team. I'd like to see a cup run, and I think every West Ham fan would.
The other issue is that you mentioned the Sheffield United game coming up Monday the 15th. After that, late February into you know, late March gets a little bit tricky. You host Sheffield United, then you've got Spurs at home, Man City away. You host Leeds before you go into Old Trafford in the league, hosting Arsenal, Wolves away, and then to make have even more fun, you get Leicester City in early April. Yeah, that's got to make for somewhat troubling reading when you read the fixture list over the next throughout the latter half of February and into April.
Good thing though is though you're sitting on 39 points though. You just got to get one more. You got that magic 40, and then you can just coast the rest of the
That's you joke, but it's kind of the case of like, you know, hey, we have the points so far. I mean, it would be a different story if, you know, like last year, for instance, we faced that kind of run of games and we're down at the bottom of the table. You're like, well, that could kind of that could be the nail in the coffin for relegation. Now it's like, oh, we can pick a few of those teams off. We can see if West Ham actually is, you know, able to challenge teams that are historically top 6, or even like if you can take care of business against Leeds, like, yeah, then you obviously deserve to be top half of the table. So I think there's matches in there that are definitely very intriguing for West Ham. It kind of comes down to, you know, do we have the depth? I think I keep going back to that, and I think it's the biggest thing. If Antonio's sidelined for a while, I think there's going to be a bunch of games that we don't really score a lot or don't have much going forward besides set pieces. Because I think set pieces for West Ham are going to kind of be there just with the height. Souček, Craig Dawson, Ogbonna, you know, those guys. But we'll see. I think, you know, we're lucky. Yeah, we have 39 points, and we'll take it at that point.
Andy, why do you think West Ham didn't buy a striker in the transfer window?
I didn't think. I think they didn't want to do a panic buy. If you look at West Ham's track record in January historically, there have been some tremendously bad purchases for a lot of money. I think it was a case of David Moyes thought like, yeah, we might have something, you know, we could go in for whoever it might be. I think Josh King was a name that was mentioned before he went to Fulham, I believe. Or no, that was Moss going to Fulham. But, you know, there are some names mentioned. And
Altovich was another one as well, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. I don't think I would ever want Arnautovic back in the club, nor would many other West Ham fans, I think. But I just don't think
he's getting pretty good in China too.
He's doing fine over there. But I don't think he wanted a panic buy, and you're going to be saddled with probably a hefty contract. You have to pay a lot because everyone knows you're going to need a striker. Maybe in the summer you can get a free agent, somebody that is just a little bit more reasonable, or, you know, maybe David Moyes looks at his U23s and says, hey, you know, we have some guys that we could give a run out if we're absolutely desperate, and we have luckily enough points that I think we can kind of give those guys a chance if absolutely necessary. You know, we'll see if it comes back to haunt us. It might, you know. I was hoping for a striker. I think most people were. just because, especially when Antonio pulled up. I think that was Saturday was the match against Fulham when he pulled up lame with a hamstring, and it doesn't look like it's that serious. But with him, I mean, if they kind of force him to play through it, that could be 2 months, and then you're sitting there like, wow, okay, we're playing Jared Bowen up top, so it could get dicey.
And you don't have Sebastian Haller to kick around anymore.
No, I mean, I don't even mind not having him, to be honest. He didn't run that much. For somebody who was as tall and should be as physically imposing as he did not seem to have any hold up playability, which is pretty necessary when West Ham puts 10 men behind the ball. So
Matt, Andy said he expects West Ham to go for it tomorrow. We know that they carry a threat on set pieces. We know that one of United's particular undoings, at least this week and in previous weeks, has been, basic defending and set pieces. What are you looking for out of tomorrow's cup game?
Cohesive defensive performance. Yeah, it's an interesting, because I definitely think that West Ham's going to go all out for this game. Not just because it's a chance for West Ham to cup. It's, just like a couple weeks ago, how, United were like, why not us for the Premier League? I think, West Ham can actually say the same things about the FA Cup. Like, why not us? Like, it's a crazy year. Other teams that are in it are going to have to battle in Europe, and West Ham doesn't. So in terms of fixture congestion, it's really not as big of a deal to them. And plus, last but not least, it's Moyes. Moyes is coming back. That every single time Moyes comes to United, he's going to want to prove a point. He's still a little hurt after he'd been sacked by us. Yeah, I don't know. I hope we start Dean Henderson in net. De Gea last game was, he's just, those persistent mistakes keep popping up, and we really need to start giving Dean Dean Henderson some time in there. I want to say, even though West Ham is going for it all, I want to say, play some of the backup players, but I know Maguire's going to start. I know Bailly's hurt. Maybe they start Tuanzebe. Especially after he gave away the foul that eventually ended up being the winner. Maybe Ole is like, all right, here's a chance to redeem yourself. So I'm hoping for a mixture of players, maybe a Mata, maybe start Dan James. But I just know that we're probably going to start our regulars and kind of go for it. It kind of sucks not having Pogba, who's out. So that probably means like a Fred, maybe Van de Beek plays. But yeah, what are your thoughts? What do you think is going to happen?
I think, I don't know. I'm not as confident, and I'm going to defer to you guys, and maybe Stead or Sean will agree or disagree with me. I wonder, though, when I look at West Ham and I see where they are in the table, and how valuable each position in the Premier League is, that top, I'm not saying that Champions League, I think, might be a stretch too far, but you're definitely sitting at the precipice of a run of fixtures that could be the difference in between saying that you finish, 6, 5, 6, 7, or 8, 9, 10, 11. I might be a little more willing to say, what, the FA Cup and the magic of the FA Cup and making it to the quarterfinals of the FA Cup is nice, but I'd like to have all the ammunition firing to pick up those victories that I know that I'm going to need to pick up against Sheffield United, against Leeds, and trying to pick off a draw or points in what is a hellacious run of fixtures. So, hey, get the guys all fit. If they do go for it, look, it wasn't an easy victory for United when we played at when we played at the Olympic Stadium. I wanted to say Upton Park, but it's not that. I think that they're going to be defensive. They're going to look to pick them out. The height is a problem. Ole has shown no willingness to rest players like Harry Maguire. Baye's hurt. Let's be honest, Tuanzebe has been a disaster the last couple of games. He's really struggling.
And I feel for him because he's getting abused online, and it's ridiculous. It's so bad. But
I don't mind. I mean, he's been bad. I think he needs to sit down and get some confidence. Maybe go play with the U23s or the reserves or something like that. Because whatever is going on, like clearly it's not working. He's trying too hard and it's not working. I wouldn't put him in because he's one mistake from basically being unplayable the rest of the season. Give him something else. Give him something a little bit more relaxed. Give him something where the stakes are a little bit less. So there's really not much else back there other than to go with Harry Maguire and Victor Lindelof. Tellez will start. I'd like to see Brandon Williams. I'd love to see Brandon Williams, who hasn't played at all. Matic, get Van de Beek in there. Bruno will probably play. Get Mason Greenwood. Rashford,
Martial.
Give Martial and Dan James a start. So even with a relative backup team, you still have a lot of firepower that I think could. I don't think that we'll fully know what's going to happen until about 1:30 tomorrow when we get the news of the team sheets.
Yeah, I agree. And if I'm trying to be super negative right now, I'm sure the Arsenal fans will laugh because they are so used to saying similar things. But tomorrow, it's setting up for a disappointing day for us. I mean, like I don't want to sound overly negative, and and it's funny. I feel bad because I love Andy, but I can't stand West Ham sometimes. And I think. It's just a typical thing. Like I feel like West Ham always gets that kind of result against us. It's like, and I just feel rival fans just like, I already feel them hopping on us right now, being like, you lost to West Ham, which means little like less this year. But
look, the number of times that Stoke beat Arsenal, I'm so glad they got relegated because we don't have to deal with that anymore.
I mean, it's a similar thing. Like I feel like, I don't know. It's just really setting up like where it is on our schedule. Europa League is next week with Sociedad, and then we got West Brom on the weekend. I don't know. I'm gonna pick it in. I got a feeling it's gonna be a good day for Andy tomorrow.
Those are not the words of a confident man, Matt, are they? Really?
Yeah,
But then we've also known. We've also seen what Matt's prognostications have gotten us.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
It's funny because I think like the exact opposite of Matt. I think Manchester United is not going to have much trouble. For whatever reason, I think West Ham just is going to kind of roll over in this, which would suck for David Moyes in another return to Old Trafford, of course. But I don't see much going forward on the attack for West Ham.
All right,
and you don't have Lingard.
Yeah, I would agree. I didn't realize until Andy said. I didn't know that your man up front was out with another hamstring. That's not good news because you've sort of struggled, haven't you, without Antonio up there for whatever reason. I know he's over 30, but he still pulls his weight when he's on form. So I think with that in mind, I think it doesn't matter what team Man U play. To be honest, I think they can play the Matters and the Dan James on the wing and whatever. I think they may have the edge. Having said that, I have backed West Ham at 50-1 to win the FA Cup, so I'm obviously hoping that you do pull something off. Tomorrow, but I can't see it myself. Yeah.
I was also going to say. I was going to say, Sean. I was just going to say, you have the reports from both Matt and Andy, who are neither one of them are confident. So I think I would take Fulham to win the West Ham Manchester United game.
Yeah, that'll be a good show.
All right. Well, Andy, it seems disingenuous to not have you give us a little bit about your thoughts on Old Man River, Methuselah. Um,
Was anyone
dude from the
there?
Cribs.
Was anyone at the game? Because there were fans at the game. I saw. Were there not fans at the game?
There were like
Well,
20,000.
there was 25,000, but I
Wow.
was not among those.
So what did you
Thankfully,
think of
I'd
the
say.
game?
Yeah, thank you.
Everyone wants, obviously Brady won the MVP award, but if you could give the MVP award to a unit, it would be to the Tampa Bay defense. Everyone,
I was just hoping he took it and ran the trophy right over to Todd Bowles. Like I feel like Tom Brady should have handed the trophy to Todd Bowles and said, "Here, you take this."
Yeah, everyone wants to say that offenses run the NFL now, but it's still the old trope kind of reigns true of defenses can still win championships, and they showed it Sunday when I think on over half of Patrick Mahomes's snaps or dropbacks, he was pressured, and that just he had no. If he had time, he was scrambling for his life trying to find something, and there was nothing over top because they're playing cover too deep, and basically they made sure that Tyreek Hill could not beat them over the top as he did last time when they played in November when he had 270 some yards and 3 touchdowns. The defensive scheme was just spot on to beat Kansas City, and that's why Tampa Bay won. And of course the offense was good. They didn't turn the ball over, and that is like the biggest thing you could do on offense, but the defense was the dominant force. And that's exactly why Tampa Bay won.
Kind of sad that that a pedestrian game by a quarterback where they can, if you just have a normal game as a quarterback where you throw 200 yards and a couple of touchdowns to give you the MVP award. I'm sorry. I think this kind of happened when Eli Manning won a couple of his games, and I was like, seriously, come on. Is that really the MVP? Come on.
When
a quarterback can go out there. Quarterback can go out there and just not screw up, and they're like, "Oh, you're the MVP." It's like, well, what's the point of the award now? It's just kind of like the Heisman.
But with Eli, both times he had game-winning drives at the end. Like
I understand that, but again,
I get that
game-winning
one,
drive basically means that you just didn't screw up the last time you had the ball. That's all it means. It doesn't mean that much. It doesn't
how many Brady do that? That's Brady.
I'm not saying Brady deserved it either. I'm not saying that. I think, but if you're going to give Brady an MVP award, give Brady MVP award, because basically when teams go, oh my God, I have to play against Tom Brady, they seem to screw up and forget how to play football.
I thought Shaq Barrett should have gotten it for all the time that he spent in the backfield.
Not that I watched the game, but I thought
read.
It
should have been Fournette. I thought Fournette should have won it. Fournette was a beast that game. Yeah. And like, I don't know.
Shaq Barrett walked off the field.
5 touchdowns to get the MVP. It's ridiculous.
Mm-hmm. Shaq Barrett walked off the field into the locker room, took off his pants, his wallet, his keys, and the Chiefs' offensive line fell out of his back pocket.
Mm-hmm.
So, Andy, London Sean wants to know who he needs to put his money on as the best early bet for winning the Super Bowl next year. Does he take Tom Brady or does he take the field?
Go with the Indianapolis Colts. They're going to trade for Carson Wentz. They have everything else in place. Nobody expect that pick, but you're going to make a lot of money on it.
As he writes this down.
Great prediction.
Indianapolis Colts. Is that what you said, Andy?
Correct.
So, Andy.
Hey, Sean, they were going at about 175 to 1 this morning.
I'm going to check. Yeah.
So, Andy, we may kick up a little bit about the going on with the officiating crew over in England. So, if you want to come back on a little bit later on, I'll shoot you a text. If you're busy, of course, you're all good. But if you want to come back on and prognosticate on the woes of the English football referees, we'd love to have you back.
Send me a text. Right. I'll see if I'm around.
All right.
I know where Mike Dean lives.
In a
the
garbage
police will hunt you down. Watch out.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Thank
Andy, thanks a lot.
Andy.
See you, Andy.
I love when he comes on, man. It's great.
I love him. Love him.
Nothing was better than your reaction, Matt. You were like,
He you know, it's great though. He texted the first game Lingard played. He was texting me, and he was like, "I really like Lingard. Like everything you were saying was really." I was like, "I feel so justified right now," and we just talked for about an hour just about Jesse Lingard. It's fantastic.
That's cool.
Oh, good guy.
So we want to welcome in our good friend and regular correspondent and Bob Dylan impersonator, Chelsea Mike.
How's it going,
How
guys?
goes it, sir?
Oh, not too bad.
What did you think of yesterday's Super Bowl?
Man, that was hard to watch. First of all, I hate Tom Brady as an Eagles fan. He won one of his first one of the 50 that he's won against us. And I've been bitter ever since. They cheated, of course, with the taping. So I hope no one in New England listens to this. But no, it was just a boring game overall. I mean, Tampa Bay just dominated. And I guess good to the city of Tampa Bay for winning their second Super Bowl.
Yeah, we're saving up Los for the end. We're trying to get him. We're trying to get him a little bit of time to get warmed up, maybe recover from yesterday's festivities. I remember what it was like when the Eagles won. There were several unidentified, unexplained bruises, and a weird video on my cell phone that I didn't know existed because I swore I left my cell phone at my friend who was supposed to be responsible for making sure that I didn't take my cell phone's house. Mike, where were you? That was supposed to be you. But yeah, so we're going to give some, but I really want to talk to you. Chelsea's fortunes have changed a bit under Thomas Tuchel. Let's get the early thoughts of the Chelsea sphere on Tuchel and his effect on the Blues.
Well, I mean, up to fifth position, 1 point off of Europe, behind a sagging Liverpool side. I mean, everything's looking up. It's been 4 games, and the only player who's been able to score on Chelsea during that time is Antonio Rudiger. So it seems as though they've got their defense organized in an effective manner, which, defense was always the problem. We could talk about that a little bit later, what I'm seeing with the D, but he came in, the first game was a 0-0 draw against Wolves, and Wolves aren't exactly playing great football right now. So it gave you a bit of a pause, but you give a guy a day and say, hey, put together a team. I guess that outcome was about as good as you could expect. 0-0 draw. And they got a good win against Tottenham. London rivals. Beating Jose is always something special to me. But they've gotten wins against lower half teams in Burnley and Sheffield being at the bottom of the division. But when we talked about them bringing Tuchel on, we mentioned that part of the reason for that might have been the timing, that they've got a bit of a lull in their schedule, and getting time to get things organized. I would say when you take 10 points out of 4 games this season, you're doing pretty well. And they've given up on dropping points to teams that they shouldn't have. And things are looking up. Is Europe a possibility? Yes, it certainly looks like it now. But I've mentioned since the beginning of the season, I thought that they had the second best talent in the division. I thought that the team with the first best talent, Liverpool, was just been devastated by injuries. We're going to win. That doesn't look probable now, but it's smiles and happy times again over here in Chelsea land. We'll see how long that lasts.
Ed, how much of this do you think is a new manager bump?
I mean, I think it's certainly part of it. part of it is what I've seen is the reorganization of the defense. Going from that back four where you've got the two wing backs that are playing all up and down the side. I've noticed a considerable difference because Chilwell, especially when they had Chilwell and Pulisic playing on the same side under Lampard, they had a great 1-2 working, and I think in previous shows I said that Chilwell was the best signing of the season. Well, he was offensively in igniting Pulisic. But I think that left them open at the back. The new back three, they haven't given up any goals that weren't own goals. We'll see what the injury to Thiago Silva looks like. But there's not that sense that they're being stretched and are open at the back. And when I mentioned that Chilwell, like that 1-2, like that's up at the opposite corner, the offensive corner, where I could see why they were exposed. But now, I mean, it just feels like they're playing with better organization. They're experimenting with new lineups. The reemergence of Marcus Alonso. Marcus Alonso probably benefiting the most from this, Jorginho being the second. He's going with experience over the youth and the transfer draws. We haven't seen too much of Kai Havertz. Pulisic has been coming off the bench. It looks like he's going with experience over flash, which maybe is what needed to have happened all along.
Matt, you had a question. What's up?
Yeah, Mike. So you were kind of alluding to it a little bit. Just so I was watching a bit of the Sheffield game, and it is hard after one game to kind of see any, at least for me, for any differences, and that was kind of tough for me. I did see a lot of people kind of complaining about Chilwell yesterday, as opposed to Marcus Alonso coming in, and it's just really interesting how Marcus Alonso seems to come in every single time there's a new manager. Like Marcus Alonso comes in, he starts and then he runs out of favor with them, and then a new manager's fired, and then he comes back up. So just including Marcus Alonso, what are some of the positives you see about Tuchel's systems? And then do you see any concerns? Like, are there areas that you are a little worried about right now?
Yeah, let me start. Marcus Alonso, he has at various times over his spell at Chelsea been a wing midfielder, which has always felt more like his natural position, right? He's not a rock solid defender. But he is a playmaker and is able to get involved offensively. Maybe Frank's system just didn't. I think on paper Chilwell's a better fit for that left wing position. But I think if you're going to play like a hybrid back five, where you've got either Reece James or Azpilicueta on the right side, although Azpilicueta has played center back as well, where the guy is playing halfway between the midfield and defense. It seems like Marcus Alonso is better there. But if you're looking for a striking presence to get to that far corner and be a presence up there, work the ball in around up there, I don't know. Alonso's been doing that pretty well too. But whereas Chilwell's more of a corner flag guy, Alonso's more of a corner of the box kind of guy. So if that's what your tactics are, to run it like that, I mean, I could see where you get him involved. Why does he run out of favor? I mean, I don't know. Eventually, his production slows, and I don't know if it's a drive issue or what. But I would think that he would have a lot to prove right now. We'll see if that continues until the end of the season. I do think that Chilwell's got enough talent that you've got to get him out there a lot of the time. But you know, if it takes a little while for him to get used to Tuchel's system and knowing where to be, seeing if he can be just as effective. You know, he's a younger guy, and Alonso's got the experience. Like I said, they're rolling with experiences. What weaknesses do I see? They're still not putting the ball in the goal enough. I mean, it seems like they're generating more chances, but even Mason Mount said yesterday after the Sheffield game, we're going to have to go back, and I'm going to have to go back on the training pitch and do some finishing.
Yeah, I was actually gonna kind of piggyback on that, because I noticed the same thing. It seems like, I don't know if you expect more, but I think I expect more. What happens with Tammy Abraham here? Like, you know, go ahead and finish up what you're saying about Mount, but how does this lead into Tammy Abraham? Because he doesn't give you much more than a big center forward who should be able to finish. That he can't, you know, I hate to do this, but you know, when you have a center forward that's like a Romelu Lukaku, let's say, who was the guy who's going to stay up at the box, he's going to stay in the middle of the field, he's going to stay in the circle when the team's in a defensive position. But we saw his ability to play out in the wing. We saw his ability to run with the ball and with pace. We saw his ability to make passes. You're not seeing Tammy Abraham able to do much of that. And Tammy Abraham, I mean, he looks like he's a lot tall. He's the same height as Lukaku. So
right.
He's just
skinnier.
But you know, as a tall, skinny guy myself, I know how to run, and I would expect he should be able to do the same thing. So where do you think they go with Tammy Abraham here?
I mean, that's a really good question. First, well, you gotta, I mean, long term, Giroud is so old.
But he scores goals,
and he still scores.
Yeah,
like
I still am mad that they let him go. I mean, the guy scores goals.
Yeah, and he's so beautiful.
Oh, he's just exquisite. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Mike.
Perfectly manicured side.
That hair, man. The way it doesn't move during the games, it's amazing.
I mean, it would seem like Tammy Abraham will be the odd man out in changes here. You look at what they're doing. They played Giroud at center. They've played Werner at center. And when they've been subbing in Pulisic, they seem to be putting him in like a false nine position in the center, which is interesting. But actually, that seems like a natural born position for Kai Havertz. So I don't know. Kai also very young, maybe not up to snuff. Maybe, maybe Pulisic is a little bit more familiar with Tuchel's systems, having played under him. But I mean, yeah, Tammy Abraham, you know, you've been watching him play this year, and it's like near misses him just being feet or so off from being in the exact right position. Yeah, no, he is he's kind of a plop him down in the middle of a box and get the ball to him sort of center forward. Not a dynamic playmaker.
I've always felt that.
I would hate for him to turn into Christian Benteke is what I'm saying. I'd hate for that to happen.
Yeah, I would say that, like, from watching Tammy, and like Tammy actually used to be that dribbler. Like, he could dribble. Like, that was actually part of his problem. Is like, for Tammy's problem to me isn't one of those, oh, he's a big forward, but he has like trouble like finishing the easy chances. His problem is like he's always like just off from like getting onto the end of that cross, right? Or like, because his positioning is like off. Like, he's actually not great at positioning himself when they're in the box. And it's like almost like he doesn't want to be that center forward, but he kind of like people have like pigeonholed him in that position because of his size.
I can see that. I can totally see that. Yeah, makes sense to me.
One quick thing, Mike, sorry to ask you, because I have noticed that thing about Pulisic playing centrally and from the US, like that's how he plays. So that's actually kind of a positive. The one negative about it, though, is I have noticed that Tuchel has been, like, he hasn't been starting him.
Right.
And I don't remember if it was Tuchel, but I do remember at Dortmund, one of the reasons why he was leaving was because he wasn't getting time. And he seemed like he had worn out his stay, and we had heard things about Tuchel and him like not being on the same page. I hope that isn't the case. Like I know this was a family issue that he wasn't in the game last week, but I don't like that he's not starting from an American perspective.
One of the things, though, that Tuchel said very early was that he had decided to bring Christian off the bench, and he had said to Christian, now, this is Tuchel talking, not anybody else, but Tuchel said that he told Christian, I know you, I know what you can do. I know what you bring off the bench. I know how effective you are starting and off the bench. I need to see what the other guys do right now. And
to me,
I don't know how much I
pissed
buy
if
that. I don't
I'd be
know
so pissed if I heard that.
I don't
Because
know
it's not
how
like
much I buy
the
that.
season's over. Yeah, it's not like the season's over. Like, just from a coaching perspective, like that sounds like a press conference answer, and like doesn't sound like if I was a player and I heard that, I would have been like, okay, well, if we were in like 15th, 16th, and like what we were safe from relegation, I understand that, but like they're fighting for Champions League.
I was gonna say, but they're not. They're in fifth. Like,
yeah, like
they're not even in like
like
you know that 7th, 8th place team that's like 4 points out. They're in fifth.
Yeah, it's like
I'm just
why
telling
do you
you.
need to
I'm
see
just
other
telling you what
people?
the man
No,
said.
I'm not trying to shoot the messenger. It's more like I am a little worried about Tuchel and Pulisic.
That sounds like bull to me. It does.
I was worried when Pulisic originally went there, because I was like, he's never gonna play and like it's gonna ruin his development. But he proved me wrong the first time. Again, shocking.
Well, what's gonna ruin his development is his
I've been proved
hamstrings.
wrong.
That's gonna ruin his development.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
So Sean, can we get odds on Christian Pulisic being the first Chelsea player to leave under Tuchel?
Oh,
wait, can I just add one point in here that's
absolutely,
I think, sort of salient. The one player who has started up front in all 4 games under Thomas Tuchel is Werner. I'm wondering if Werner's getting a do it now or get out sort of audition role, because his form has been, or if they're trying to play him into form. I mean, you've seen the talent the entire season, the pace and the skill on the ball is he just hasn't been able to create the final moment. But I'm wondering if it's not like final audition in the dress rehearsal for Werner. That's my thought on the issue, and it's odd to me that you know, as they've been rotating people in and out, they haven't rotated out Werner. So you know, that's the question there is why. I don't know the answer to that. I think Werner has been playing better. He set up the Mount goal the other day, yesterday. He has been creating. Maybe, you know, like we were talking about, maybe this is Tuchel's transition period through these lighter fixtures. Maybe it's Werner's too. I think Pulisic, when healthy, has got to get playing time. He just though he hasn't been, he's only scored 1 goal this year. He hasn't been finishing either. So yeah, no, but I of course, as an American, I did not wear my Pulisic jersey today. But
that
was
one
the
was
last time? Yeah, when was the last time Umbro sponsored the Chelsea kit? That's got to be.
I think
Was
if I'm
those-
not mistaken, a very, very good friend of his gave that to him as a birthday present many
okay.
years ago.
what, 1974.
Something like that. Something like that.
Okay, and in answer to your question, Mike, what are the odds on Pulisic leaving? I think what's gone unnoticed, and I'm not describing a conspiracy theory here, but I think that the whole nature of professional football could be changing, particularly over in the UK. First thing is Pulisic. What's his name? What's your manager's name again, Mike? Tuchel. He only got an 18-month contract.
Yeah.
He's only here until the end of next season. So I think things are starting to look different. The reason Chelsea have said they've only given him an 18-month contract, they have paid over £100 million in compensation to managers in the last 5 years. 100 million in 5 years. It's crazy. So they said, we ain't going down that route anymore. So I think what you'll find, and this is just a prediction, I think it's somewhat swinging back to the clubs now because of COVID, the power I'm talking about. I think you're going to start seeing less length contract-wise. So I think what was generally seen as players signing on 4 or 5 year deals on ridiculous money, that's probably going to reduce to 3 year deals. And I think we potentially could see the end of transfer fees within the next 5 years. Because if you look at the clubs that have the money, so that was generated generally by the Real Madrids, the PSGs, the Barcelonas. We know Barcelona and Madrid are skint. So there aren't that many clubs out there that can actually afford to go out and spend big money on transfers and give the players the big money. And I think what's going to happen is players are going to run contracts down, and the agents are going to negotiate a signing on fee, rather than the clubs passing the money between each other. So going back to your question about Pulisic, I don't know how long he's got left on his contract, but he might just outstay Tuchel purely and simply for the fact that he's got a longer contract. So the players who are currently got those contracts, I think, will work towards leaving at the end of those contracts.
I had it pulled up. I was doing research earlier. He is on a 6-year, £45 million contract that is good until 2024.
Who's that?
Pulisic.
Oh, Pulisic. Sorry. Okay, right. So he ain't going anywhere.
Right.
Not anytime soon.
No.
So
no, and I hope he doesn't. I mean, he's been a dynamic playmaker. Was a bright spot in a darker era of this season, which seems like it's been forever.
So I want to go ahead and bring on the last member of the group.
Last but not least.
Last but certainly not least. And one person here.
Not the last man standing.
Not the last man standing. But the last person that gets to gloat a little bit because he got to watch a hometown team win a Super Bowl in their hometown. So, Carlos, yes, I knew it was coming. It had to happen.
And you can see how old this flag is too. It has a Hess logo on it. I mean, it's been a while. Hess has been gone for a while. I mean, still got the trucks, but the Hesses are gone. They're all speedways now. But yeah, go Bucks. They dominated. Matter of fact, I heard when Kansas City landed, when they're playing rides in Tampa, I think it was Friday or Saturday before the match. They landed, and I heard that the pilot got on the horn and says, "Touchdown, Tampa!" But I don't know that that's true. So, but they sure did have a few, more than KC did. KC didn't even get double digits. As a matter of fact, Tariq Hill had only 2 catches for the longest time, and then got a whole bunch in the fourth quarter when it didn't matter. So they stopped him. The defense really should have been the MVP. They gave it to Brady, which I'm not going to complain about, but the defense is really the big story with the Buccaneers and yesterday's game. So, but Brady, 5th time MVP, 7th time winner. I mean, this just in, he's good.
Yeah.
Better than Harry Kane. At least he's got more medals to show.
He's a little older than Harry too.
He's a little older than Harry. Yeah.
Just a little bit. Just a little bit.
if Harry can play as long as Tom Brady has, then
have a
that'd be
full on.
something.
He'll have
Wait,
1,000 Premier League goals.
That's the headline because
Only
then
if
he'd
he
be
has
like
an ankle.
43.
Only if
43
you
is still playing.
What? The only person I know who made it as long as Harry Kane was Ryan Giggs, or who made it as long as Tom Brady was Ryan Giggs.
Yeah.
We're excluding goalkeepers, right?
Yes, outfield
Okay.
players.
All right.
It's like kickers. It's like the same thing. It's like, come on.
Yeah, kickers will play until they're 50. Like George Blanda was playing when he was in a wheelchair, but Tom Brady's still playing quarterback at Methuselah old. Although I'm
Yeah.
never ever going to refer to Ryan Giggs as Methuselah.
And he's coming back, apparently.
Ibrahimovic only
Yeah,
needs
why
like
wouldn't
3
he?
or 4 more seasons to get there.
That's right.
Yeah.
You see, I was going to ask.
Ibra just got he just got a contract extension.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
And
he
why
just
wouldn't,
because
why wouldn't they? Why wouldn't they?
He's killing it.
Yeah.
he's just been effective wherever he goes.
Yeah.
Well, while he for that little bit before you said in between when Andy said West Ham might sign a free agent and you said that Ibrahimovic negotiated the contract thing, I was going to start the Ibrahimovic to West Ham rumor, but apparently now that's officially not going to happen. But the one thing you can say for sure right now, though, Los, is the Bucks defense is doing a whole lot better than Spurs is.
As far as defense, I don't know. We had a clean sheet on Sunday, so hey, just we kept them down to less than 2 touchdowns there too. And so I don't know if you got a chance. Did you guys get a chance to see the N17 at all? I mean, I probably sent links and all that. It was a lot of fun being with the official Spurs pre and post game show. I was on with Matt Gay, who used to be a kicker for the Bucks. He's now kicking for the Rams. And we both got to talk about our views on the preview of the match and, of course, the after effects after the match. It's kind of funny because the biggest thing that my crew took out of it, other than the fact they absolutely loved the whole thing and the Superman change at the end, but they had said something about, oh, and we have Lucas. We're gonna go down to the post game interview with Lucas. And my response was, sure. And that's the only thing that they took out of it. Now they want to make a T-shirt that commemorates the situation with a sure quote on it. So that'll be my contribution to the Tampa Spurs group.
Did you plug our show while you were on the air?
Didn't have the opportunity, sir. I would have, but I didn't have. I did get a chance to talk to them about the fact that the microphone I use is for what I use on the podcast, and they didn't seem at all interested in talking to me about that.
Get on there about 3 or 4 more times. Get a little following there, and then you can go ahead and maybe plug the show.
I don't know.
Give us some time.
This is not even. This kind of fell in my lap. Really, it just. Matter of fact, I was approached and I said no initially. And with a little more prodding and saying how good this would be and blah blah blah, and I'm the right man for the job. I'm like, okay, fine, I'll do it. And I had a blast. I'm really glad that Stacy, the president, went ahead and changed my mind on this. But it was really it was a fun experience, and I don't think I'm going to be a regular or they're going to call me back, but it is kind of interesting. It's the first time they've had a member from the official Spurs club anywhere be part of their pre or post game. And I'm like, well, if that's the case, then sorry guys, I kind of set the bar a little high. But, there it goes.
That's all right. Then you came on this show and brought it back down.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. My French practice kit.
I was going to ask you whether that was a French top.
Yeah, French kit after after 98, and I'm not sure it was 2006 or 2002 that this was maybe 2010. Okay.
I didn't know they did a red top, but I suppose
they did do a red top because I used to have a. They wore a red top as an alternate. Now, why international team needs an alternate, but for a while they did have a red alternate. I used to have one.
But this is their practice kit. when you do warm-ups and stuff. But the interesting about it is I like I said, I don't remember what year it is, but I know because of the 1 star, it has to be past 98. So that's the only indicator I have as to what year it is.
So before we get on to all things not Spurs related, give us your thoughts on your beloved Tottenham at the moment.
Well, we had a dry spell there for a little bit, and we made it right a little bit on Sunday. Got a little more confidence back. Now we got to face Everton in FA Cup on Wednesday. That'll be interesting to see how that goes. And we got another game coming up over the weekend. I think I forgot who we're playing. I did look at the schedule earlier. And
A team that plays in the Premier League, I hope.
Oh yeah. It is put up Man City. So we got our hands full this week. So but I will say this, we've beaten Man City before, so it's possible. Could happen.
So speaking of Man City, and this goes out to the rest of the gentlemen on this, we've got to talk about the Man City Liverpool game, and a great headline I saw from one of the English newspapers that said Allison Blunderland. Kind of love that.
Oh man, I love that.
That it was great.
Careful, let's not go down the rabbit hole.
Yes. British Will said he would have a statement for us.
Matt, it took you a moment.
He is insistent that despite the score line and Allison, that they actually did win the game and that they have not dropped points. And he blames all of Allison's mistakes on Bruno Fernandes.
Oh, okay.
Actually, no, he just said one 4-letter expletive, which I will not read because I don't y'all curse, but I'm not going
to. It's in French.
But
wait, you don't curse on air. You'll curse when you have to call me and talk to me about Manchester United and Tottenham, and you'll curse all you want.
I don't curse on. I don't curse. I try not to curse on my podcast, but
I hear you.
I don't try and curse.
That's just reserved for me. That was just for my benefit. I appreciate it. Thank you. I feel the love. Feel the love.
I love you too. Heart hands. Love you too, Los. I do want to get y'all's thoughts on the Man City Liverpool game. And after this result, do we want to say now, with 14 wins in a row, that City are champions elect? So, Stead, I'll throw it to you first.
Yeah, I know a couple of weeks ago I said that the way the teams were beating up on each other and the way that City had some games in hand, it looked like the path to the top of the table was pretty wide for City, and they managed to get there a little bit quicker than I imagined. But I don't see how you cannot. With the injury woes that are going on at Liverpool, and with, it's very difficult for me to believe that Leicester is going to be able to maintain you're already seeing some cracks, and the draw they had where Vardy missed a goal that he does not miss. You have to be a bit concerned about anybody else's chances. But the thing that really got me about City was, even at this point in the season, City does not have a 10-goal scorer. They don't. And I think Ilkay Gundogan is their leading scorer now with the brace he had, and Raheem Sterling, which I think they have like 7 or 8 and 9 goals, or 9 and 8 goals respectively. So that was another thing that maybe said, okay, this team does not have a focal point that you have to really kind of mark in order to keep them at bay. And you're seeing Phil Foden turn into the player that Pep thought he would turn into. And he was really dynamic. And the way he put that, how quickly he was able to transfer his position and his weight off of a quick little turn to shoot that shot with the power that he did was very, very impressive. It was very impressive. So I think if you're an England supporter, you have to be feeling pretty good about him coming up as well. But I don't see an opportunity for a team to really kind of like knock them off to the point where they're going to drop significant points where someone else can move in, because I just don't see another team that's going to be able to put the run together that's going to be necessary for them to overtake Manchester City. I think that City is probably going to win, probably not going to be by 10, 15 points. It'll probably be like by 3 or 5. But I just think that any chance one team can get to try to overtake them, they're going to be playing first. Or they're going to be playing Manchester United, or they're going to be playing a team like Everton, who's fighting to get maybe in the top 5. They're going to be playing against Aston Villa, who can beat anybody on any given day. And so it's just hard because I just don't see another team being able to put together the type of run that would be necessary.
Sean, get your thoughts on the Liverpool-Man City game, and are you willing to say City are the champions elect?
Yes, I think City are the champions elect. It was interesting when we did the pod. Must have been pre-Christmas. Can't remember if it was November time. And Liverpool had already lost Van Dijk, and we were talking about whether Liverpool could sustain the season without Van Dijk, and obviously they've struggled. We couldn't see that at that point, but I remember we were also did a feature on the Spanish football, and I hadn't realised how far Atletico were ahead at that point with some games in hand. So I did a little double. I did a little Liverpool Atletico double, thinking that Liverpool would come good. Liverpool have got progressively worse. So the fact that Man City are now putting this run together without Kevin De Bruyne and without Aguero, so we're talking about injuries. I mean, those two guys have been two of their most influential players over the last 2 or 3 years. That should send out warning signs to the rest of the league, not only for this season, but for next season as well. Because as Stead just said, the kid coming through Foden is just looking spectacularly good. I don't think we've seen the best of the guy they bought from Spain. Is it Torres? Ferran Torres?
Rodrigo.
Ferran Torres, yeah.
Fernan Torres, yeah.
Yeah, and I don't think he's shown us all of his capability, and Pep tends to find these players and they come good. We've got the Bernardo Silva playing out of his skin. So yeah, I was very happy. I backed City to beat Liverpool on Sunday on the basis that City are flying. Liverpool are playing shockingly badly at the minute. But quite frankly, I'll be following City for the next 3, 4, 5 weeks. I think we play them in 3 weeks' time. And yet again, I have a horrible feeling that they're going to come to the Emirates and do us in again. But there we go. So I think I agree. I can't see anyone catching them up. I can't see anyone being able to put a run together to get close to them. So,
Sean, I know you said that you were betting the individual games, but you had a really, really, really good parlay bet going.
Good one.
A parlay bet, a parlay in the United States is when you do like you bet on 4 games.
Oh yeah,
and it's a large payout at you could have had one with City over Liverpool, the Bucks, and I'm sure you could have worked cricket in there somehow.
Yes, yes. The odds are generally not great on the cricket, though. To be fair, so
yeah, but if you're doing a 14, including the U.S. Super Bowl, I gotta believe that you're the weird thing about that, Los, you know as well as I do. You get that parlay and you got that 14 parlay going, and you're up at halftime of the last game, and then the guy's running the touchdown, and then all of a sudden, just hand comes out of the ground and just grabs him by the ankle and trips him up right when you were about to cover. Los, give me your thoughts on City and Liverpool, and our City the champions elect.
Okay, well, last I checked, you don't elect these guys. They have to win. So, I mean, there's a lot of games left. A lot of stuff can happen. They're playing well currently. I did not anticipate Aguero and De Bruyne going out with injury. I think if they had stayed playing, they weren't playing very well, and then they got hurt. And then they brought in the backups who were dynamite, and now they're playing well. And so there you go. So my prediction of Man City being outside top 6 did not take that into consideration. But it's just the way it goes. You know, you make your predictions, and that's how it goes. I think Liverpool is struggling, and I think they are struggling so much that they may have difficulty staying in the top four. And that's saying something. When you think about how strong they were and how strong they've been over the past 2 years. It's a matter of fact, my buddy who was a huge Liverpool fan living south of Liverpool presently in Chester said, well, that was a good run while we had it. Like, well, it ain't over yet. Come on, man. And he's like, no, we got too many injuries, and we're on a downturn, and we're not going to make top four. And I'm like, hey, there's a lot of games to play. There's a lot, and you can't just phone it in. You can't just vote someone in. You can't just say, oh, we're going to stop everything. Stop the count. We're not going to do that. Okay.
So do you guys think that you could be the ones to end this winning streak this week?
Oh, we've done it before. We beat them before. We can beat them again. I mean, they're not invulnerable, or they're not. The Invincibles? They're not that either. So it's
How many draws?
They can be beaten. Okay, they can be. And Mourinho, I'm sure, is after dealing with the Everton strategy, has come up with something for Man City for the weekend, and we'll see how that goes. It's worked before, like I said, 2-0. It worked earlier this season. Maybe there'd be something like that, or it could be something a little different. Who knows? I mean, we actually opened up on West Brom with plenty of midfield possession, a la how we played under Poch, and we still had the scoring chances of 1-2-0. But under Mourinho, we play a different style. It's like, let them kind of bring it to us and then get them on the counterattack, and it worked before. It could work again. It's boring for others to watch, but when I'm on the winning side, it's fun. So it's just how it goes, man. You just got to wait and see what happens.
So, how confident are you, Los, of victories this week then? What do you see against Everton tomorrow? Do you forecast
Wait,
a win?
okay. Are you asking about my opinions, or are you asking because you're looking to make a parlay? So
No, not because I'm looking to make a parlay. I know where my money's going on when you play Everton. I'm just interested in your opinion.
In my opinion, I think it's going to be a close match, and hopefully Tottenham ends up on the right side of the score. So that's what all I'm hoping for. If I had to give a score prediction for the weekend, I'm going to go with 1-1. It's a good draw
Against City.
against City.
Okay. Matt, you've got a contender.
Yeah. I just to answer you quick, I do think they're I hate to admit it, but I just don't see them dropping the points necessary for us to climb back into it. I do think that we'll probably finish second, and we'll be like that 5 points behind, but we won't. We're not. I don't think it's that. I do think that this. I think that this next run of games is going to tell us, like, is City gonna run away with the league, like we're kind of talking, or is it going to be close, like at least a little bit longer, because they've got Spurs, Everton, Arsenal, then they have the Champions League game. They've got West Ham after that. Then they have United, and those next five Premier League games, I think that determines the title. Like if City wins all those games, they're gonna run away with the league. I think they will win, by 10 plus points. If they stumble, and they do have a downturn, like a second downturn, like every other team has seemed to have so far, then maybe we do have a title race, but they are just flying. Like watching them it's actually disheartening. Like if you were a neutral, it's great, but man,
I think the one thing is, though,
killing it.
This season has been unusual in its ebbs and flows.
Mhm.
And I think that we would be remiss if we didn't acknowledge there have been ebbs and flows.
Mhm.
There's the possibility that City could go through, they're riding high right now. There could be a downturn. The one thing I do want to acknowledge is, although his prediction that City was not going to finish within in a European place kind of looks wrong right now. I got to thank Los for redeeming himself with the prediction that Liverpool is going to drop out of the Champions League places. So because of that and the red kit, I think we're dubbing Los.
Actually, it's actually pink, but that's okay.
Looks red on screen. So we're dubbing you an unofficial Man United fan because it's clear that you actually do like us in your heart someplace.
Oh, but
With
you
your
know, I had a
prediction-
chance to buy Chivas Regal has this Manchester United special edition, and I looked at it as, oh, Chivas Regal in the manager's section. Let me take a look at this. I'm like, oh, and it has little mini shots here, and I'm like, oh, interesting. I said, what's this? Manchester United special edition? Well, they just lost the sale. All right.
That's all right. I can't blame you. I'm over Chivas Regal too. And had it been like Glenn Fittich or something,
Yeah.
then I would have
fault.
Yeah. If it had been that or like a Johnny Walker Blue Label, I would have faulted you. But it was Chivas. Now Chivas has its place.
No, it doesn't.
No,
It has its place. Its place is not in my particular liquor cabinet, but it has its place.
Right at the back.
You know, college dorm rooms
Yeah.
are
That's the
its
only
place.
liquor you can get at the food court at
That's
the
a
mall.
little too high class. Too high class for college. I don't know.
Graduate student housing is a place.
There you go.
I just
Right
like how
next
this
to the
conversation just kind of moved on, and then we're talking about quality liquor versus non-quality liquor.
Well,
That's what we're
but
talking
I'm
about
saying
now.
so I'm not faulting you, and you still maintain your place as an unofficial Man United fan. You don't lose it just because you didn't buy a commemorative Chivas Regal thing. All right. I will complain to the Glazers officially that they need to select a better Scotch sponsor. Okay, that's a legit thing. Look, who would be surprised if season takes one more turn? So we got to get on to this before we get out of here shortly. We have had a rash of bad refereeing decisions. Sean, what was it? 3 red cards that were rescinded within the last week?
Yeah, and not David Luiz.
Except for Luiz. Except for Luiz.
And not David Luiz. So there were like 3 red cards that were rescinded in the week. All 8 of them belonged to Michael Dean, who was supposed to be the best referee in all of England.
Says who?
Says who? Who says that? Daily Mail.
Says Mike Dean. No, man, that
Says
comes
Mike
from
Dean.
Goal.
Daily
Goal.com.
Mail said that Mike Dean is the best official in England.
That was his son.
I
There's-
think by the FIFA ratings, he's actually
As
like the
asterisk,
highest rated referee because he's the one that gets the most international matches.
Yeah, he gets the most decisions wrong as well.
Yep.
Is it a Mike Dean thing, guys?
Yes.
Or is it?
Yes.
Or is it?
Yes.
Yes.
The Mike Dean thing. Absolutely. Absolutely. The guy's got no class. He's a bit of a hothead himself, and having the authority and being the authority figure, carrying himself the way he does, it's a bit much. I'll be honest.
He's got a disability badge in his car because he's partially fucking blind.
Well, he's that too. But let me say, we've always, as Spurs fans, we talk about the matches coming up, and whenever Mike Dean is on the list to be the next official, we're always like, we'll post in the Facebook group, Mike Dean on the next match, FFS, with the big angry face, because he's just terrible. And I saw it happen, and we all saw it happen when Spurs lost to, I want to say it was Aston Villa. I don't remember who it was. It was a couple years ago under Pochettino. They lost, and they were in the hunt for the top 4, and they lost. And Mike Dean said a snippy comment to Mauricio Pochettino after the match, and Pochettino called him out on it. and turned. He was walking away after shaking hands, and he heard what he said, and he came and he said something to the effect like, "Well, it looks like that ruins your race for the top four, your title race, or something like that." And Pochettino went back and he gave him all kinds of what for, and then Pochettino got in trouble and got fined for approaching the referee like he did, and that was totally not even his fault. He was egged on by Mike Dean. Mike Dean is a turd, class A turd.
Well,
Yeah,
also
even-
though,
even
yeah,
better
I mean,
one,
before we
Ted,
pile more on I got,
nothing but
you know,
like
I don't want to put
Ted.
all the woes of English football on Mike Dean, but I will say I'm going to throw a little bit more on top of this pile. You know, he's giving nearly a red card every 2 games. This last, I think it was last season. That's got to make you go back to the drawing board and think. But the fact that VAR is now a tool to give players red cards is causing this situation, I feel like, to become even worse. Because yes, I'm going to go back to the West Ham call. The fact, yes, I lost a lot of respect for Mitrovic. You can't make a meal of it like you've been doing, and then when the penalty comes that you don't like it, all of a sudden you're okay. You should have never grabbed your face and fallen on the ground in the first place. If anybody has seen Mitrovic will know, if he can't take a brush from an elbow to the bridge of his nose, then who is the guy who we've seen who literally stomps and jumps over defenders to try to head balls into the goals multiple times? It's really, really, really frustrating. And probably because the 2 sports I watch most couldn't be more different when it comes to what violent conduct is. The fact that was called violent conduct was really, really, really appalling. And I think that VAR is actually making the referee's job harder and causing them to make even more mistakes because they are overly reliant or they're overly feeling this pressure to have that VAR in their ear. And it just appears to, I don't think you should see a referee running over to the side to watch a video of a player move his arm over 10 times to determine whether or not they deserve a red card in the 95th minute of a game. That is absolutely ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous.
I'm going to jump in here and say, I think that VAR, which was supposed to solve a lot of problems with the referee, at least when it comes to England, it's been rolled out successfully in other countries and other venues, but at least how it has been rolled out, how it has been used in England has been an absolute disaster.
Mhm.
It's got referees second guessing themselves. Nobody knows we don't know what an offsides is anymore. We don't know what a yellow card, a red card, a penalty decision. Sometimes they go in your favor, sometimes they don't. Well, that's fine. To be honest, I never thought that I would say about replay, I'd rather go back to the days of being stupid
Mhm.
when
See,
I didn't have it than
See,
I would right now.
I want to say, like, I hate sound like I do this with you guys in the chat too, because I don't want to sound like I'm a conspiracy theorist. But like some of the
You're such a
ways they have
conspiracy
like
theorist, man.
He wears a tin
I don't-
hat. We know this.
The only way they could have messed up VAR is exactly how they've messed it up. Like it's like we've been calling for it for years, and I swear to God, like the secret fraternity of referees got together and they were like, guys, like we have to find a way to make this like really like to screw this up. Like, you know,
So it goes away.
we're not robots. Yeah, like because I don't understand like the offside thing, I get. I actually heard like it was either Carragher or like Roy Keane, or it might have been Neville talking about how I understand it because it is something where it's binary. You're either onside or you're offside. And like you have to like, even though it is by those like micro decisions, and while like back in the day they couldn't make those decisions before, I understand that offside. But like trying to like apply it to like judgment calls and like using it for like things that are subjective, like Mike Dean deciding that like the elbow like this, like essentially a guy yawning is like a violent conduct, is like ridiculous. And the only thing is like, what does Mike Dean think? Like is he that's like cynical? Like does he really think that people like are genuinely like that? Like that they're actually like, no, I know that you really wanted to hurt him. It's like And it's not just him. It's like you have someone in the booth that's supposed to help them with the decisions. I think
I'm gonna agree with you on this.
I believe Mark Clattenburg too, the former, he's no longer. But I don't know why this is sticking in my head, but I feel like he was quite critical of VAR and the way it was being implemented in England.
I don't think it was
mistaken, though.
Matt. I don't think it was.
Yeah, but he's another clown.
Windbag.
Mark Clattenburg's a clown.
We need Howard Windbag.
That's what I'm saying. Like that's kind of what I'm saying.
Because he would fix everything.
Even he is thinking that it's wrong.
Matt, I'm going to say this. I don't think a conspiracy theory. Sean, I love you to death. You are a good friend of mine. I love the rest of the British contingent that is on the various chats that we have. So please don't take this as a personal dig at you. It's not a conspiracy. They're English. They could F up a one-car funeral procession.
Let me tell you, the VAR.
I love the self-deprecation of Sean. Yeah, we do that.
We see.
Like, we could mess up the order of a one-car funeral.
We see VAR as it's being applied in the English Premier League. I have not watched enough of the other leagues to see how they're using VAR. So I'm going to say that as far as VAR and they're messing it up and big time in England, that may be so because I'm actually seeing a lot of English games, but I have not seen a lot of the other leagues. So I don't know how much they're messing up in the other leagues, if they're messing up at all. So I'm going to say as far as the other leagues are concerned versus England, that jury's still out unless you guys have more evidence to tell me.
I can only go from my own observations, but I have been tuning into other leagues. I'm just going to say this. It's not used. It appears that it's not used nearly as much in other European leagues as it is in England, at least for La Liga games and for Bundesliga games. Yes, it's used every now and then, but it seems to go by a lot faster. And it is really a last-ditch resort. So, you're still seeing that. I feel like in Germany, you still see more communication between the referee and the side judges before anything. Looked like I thought that's what you were supposed to do. Go talk to the referee that's there,
exactly,
as opposed to running directly to the VAR. And I'm not saying that's what they're doing in England, but it just seems like in other leagues it's not being used as much. And when it is being used, they're finished with it a lot quicker. So they may not even be better at it, but it's not eating up the game. It doesn't become this situation where the ref now becomes the star of the show.
Do they use the lines like they do in the English league?
Yes, they
put
do.
Lines down also?
Yeah, they do.
Because that's arbitrary, just so you know.
But again, it's a lot faster.
Okay.
Leave it to the Germans to be efficient and follow the rules.
Yeah, it's what the Spanish did.
They also tend to make the ref go and look at it on the video monitor in Europe, in the other European leagues, whereas we still haven't got any protocol in the Premier League. They were not going to see the monitor at all last season, and this season it's like 50-50, isn't it?
What it boils down to is the guidance has been clear, as you would expect from the other leagues, than it has in the Premier League. So as a result, like, who would have guessed that the German league could remotely roll out this efficiently, while the English were going to make this about as clear as a foggy day?
I listened to a phone in this week, and I think it summed it up quite well. There was a father that phoned in. There was a talk about VAR, and he I don't know, he must have gone to see a non-league game, which obviously doesn't have VAR, but he was saying that his 10-year-old kid, after their team had scored, turned around and said, "Daddy, is that going to be allowed as a goal?" And I think that's part of the problem, is that why we all love football is to have that, when you score a goal, have that millisecond of sheer emotion and joy and let it all out. And VAR seems to have taken that away, so, which is a shame.
Yep. And that was my biggest concern when this was being implemented in the first place.
Are people as pissed with the rest of the refs in the lower leagues? Don't know, Matt. Don't know. No, I don't think so.
So, man. In the words of the immortal Ron Burgundy, that escalated quickly. That really got out of hand.
Blame Los. Los came
That's
in,
my
guns
fault. I'll
blazing,
take-
man. Guns, he had the
Hey.
flamethrower out, boy. He was
Hey.
ready.
Everybody puts some blame on me. That's fine. That's cool.
It's always whoever
Mike
comes
Dean
on
still
last.
sucks.
It's always whoever comes on last. A couple of weeks ago it was Will and his angry Liverpool shtick. Superman wanting to be. Yeah.
Hey, Mike Dean sucks. Fox
Just
shot,
when I
Fox shot, Sierra.
Just
We all agree on that. We all agree.
just when I thought I was out, y'all pulled me back in. We got to get up out of here because we have officially run out of time and then some. So I'm going to cut it short tonight, and I'm going to say a big thank you to Leo, the Italian, Andy the Hammer for coming on, Chelsea Mike for sharing his thoughts on Thomas Tuchel and the Super Bowl. Thank you, Coach Matt, for coming on and hanging out with us. Los, congratulations on your Super Bowl. Go Bucks. Bring back Buck. We're starting a petition, Los. Bring back Buccaneer Bob.
Bruce. Buccaneer Bruce. Bruce. Yeah.
Bring back Buccaneer Bruce in the creamsicle uniforms. Thank you to London Sean and his betting tips for the week. And producer Stead, kind sir. As always, thank you for keeping the trains running on time. For the cast of the Too Many Guys Soccer Show, I'm Mike. We did all right this week. We'll try and do better next week. Have a good weekend and happy football.
Come on, England cricket. I'm going to go watch the test.
Six Nations.